academia can be absolutely worth your time. It can be worth the effort to go through all of the courses. It can be worth the money that you put into getting those qualifications in academia. And this goes for undergraduate, it goes for postgraduate, it goes for anything that you pay for, you invest time in for achieving a skill or a certification that opens up doors for you in the world. One of my old chemistry teachers used to say, get the highest qualification you can. It opens up more doors, but then you've got a selection of doors to choose from. And even if you go back to the one where it was open ages before, at least you've got more options. Now, I don't think that advice holds particularly well anymore. It was what the boomer generation told our generation, the millennials. We are now the most educated generation with the smallest amount or share of the wealth at our age sort of range, according to history. So, is academia a waste of time? It can absolutely also be a waste of time if you don't just go back to the fundamentals of why you're getting this qualification, what you want to do with it, whether or not the investment in money or time is worth it. And then you kind of have to ignore all of the marketing, the aggressive marketing from universities and other people that are telling you that you can follow your passion and earn a lot of money doing what you enjoy and freedom, and you can have an unstoppable career. All of these are just marketing terms to separate you from your money, and you kind of have to ignore those to work out what really matters for you, where you want to go. And so in this video, I'm going to share with you what I've learned about academia all the way from undergraduate, choosing an undergraduate degree, postgraduate degree, and then PhD and onwards. Apparently, I'm glutton for punishment, and I've been all the way through that, and I stayed in academia as a researcher for about 10 years after that, and this is everything that I think you should know about whether or not academia is a waste of time and how to make sure that it works for you. This video is brought to you by my newsletter. Now go check it out at andrewstapleton.com.au/newsletter. Sign up there. The first thing you'll get is a daily planner so you can work your way towards your goals in academia. And then after that, you're going to find out more information about my secret project that I've been teasing for ages. It's a couple months out yet, but I don't send you emails unless I've got something valuable to share. And you'll be the first to find out about that project when you're on that newsletter. All right, go check it out. Okay, the first thing I want to say is that it is absolutely not a waste of time if your desired profession requires you to achieve a certain certification or degree or get a certain qualification. Like, that's absolutely fine. You can't become a lawyer, a doctor, a teacher. You can't sort of teach at a university unless you've got a PhD. So all of these things are absolutely worth it. If you have set yourself a goal to become one of those things that requires a university degree, academia is 100% worth it. Now, the thing that I would always say to people is like, yeah, sure, you want to become that thing, a doctor, a lawyer, a professor, but what is the job market like? Like, one of the biggest things I think that we always kind of misrepresent when people are choosing careers is passion and purpose. You do have to look at the numbers. What's the lawyer job market like when you get out the other end? What's the doctor job market like when you get out the other end? I've heard loads of stories of people that get this qualification, work really hard to be in the top percentile of their class, and then get out the other end and they're like, this job absolutely sucks. And they're kind of got this sunk cost fallacy where they're just kind of stuck there then. And that was certainly my experience as someone who was like, I'm going to become a professor, I'm going to teach in a university. I kind of didn't really understand what that meant. And I think that's true for many professions. I wish I'd spoke to a professor who was doing it. My generation were told, get yourself as much skills as possible, go to university, go as hard as you can, get the best grades you can, and the world will reward you with high income jobs. And that's absolutely just not the case. Sure, the high income jobs require you to get a certain qualification, but at the same time, once you're in those jobs, what's the competition like? What's the projected growth of those job markets like? And the thing is, universities do not tell you about those things. So absolutely, your your sort of success and whether or not you feel like it's worth it is all down to whether or not the skills that you require throughout your PhD is required by a job. And then at the end of that, is that job going to be fulfilling enough to make it worth your time and not a waste of time? So now let's take a little look at what universities are saying and why you shouldn't listen to them. Universities as a system, and I'm not talking about the individuals that work within the system. There are some great people. I've always loved the people that I've worked with. There's been some funny PhD supervisor interactions, but apart from that, everyone really is working together. And the thing is that the university system has become just like a big business. Like they get money because people decide to do courses and they pay for those courses to the university. Now, the thing is that universities love international students because they pay far more than the domestic students. And that's because some of the universities are in the top, 2% of universities in the world, and they feel like they can attract the best people from all over the world because they're in the top 2%. And that's the case in Adelaide, where I am at the moment. There's 3 universities and they're all in the top 2%, I think, and they're always arguing and trying to get their market share of students. And this leads to essentially what businesses do, which is a massive marketing push. They use these kind of different ranking systems, the world university ranking systems, to be like, we're in the top 2%. And they come up with really clever slogans like your unstoppable career in psychology, or study with the best for nursing, and all that sort of stuff. And you do have to ask yourself, well, why are they aggressively marketing? It's because they want your money. And what they don't ever tell you necessarily is what happens when you get outside. You can work really hard in university, get the best degree, get the best thing possible. But on the other end, it really comes down to who you know, networking, going through some kind of a little bit of turbulence to find the job and the role that you really want. And so universities are not to be listened to for career advice, in my opinion. I feel like they should be more open with what the job market is expected to do in a certain area. They obviously over promote their courses to international students because that's where they get a lot of their money from, and COVID certainly has taken a lot of that wind out of their sails, so they now are looking at domestic students more. But yeah, universities can make their messaging and their kind of ability to lure you in can make it a waste of time. So now let's talk about, if you kind of ignore the university system, what they're telling you about certain things in their marketing, and how do you make sure that it doesn't become a waste of time. This, I think, is the most important thing. The first thing that I think you should realize is that you need to start with the end in mind. And this is where I went wrong. So I chose my undergraduate degree based on what I was good at and what I was getting praise for, right? Which is insane. Why would I do that? I didn't actually know what a career in chemistry, which is what I chose to do an undergraduate in university, looked like. It was a lot in industry, or it was in academia. And now looking at those jobs, I'm like, that looks like a rubbish job. I don't want to be doing those jobs. And I don't think I ever did. I think I just allowed my ego to accept this praise from my professors. And, I think clever people that go to university, you can normally sort of get good at a load of things. And what you do when people give you praise is you get good at that thing, because it's like an exchange for praise. I get good at chemistry. My supervisor, my teacher at the time absolutely loved that. And then my parents go, wow, he's very clever. And they don't know what the chemistry job market's like. They didn't go to university. But, that isn't anyone's fault, other than that is what humans like. We like praise. And so I ended up going into an undergraduate in chemistry because I liked my high school teacher's praise, which is a rubbish reason to do an undergraduate. And then, of course, when you finish your undergraduate, you're like, well, I don't want to do those jobs. They're rubbish. So okay, I'll do a PhD or I'll do a postgrad, and you just start doubling down on this mistake. And it's something that I see a lot in university is, people go, I want to go into marketing, and then they come out the other end and there's just no marketing jobs, or they become a lawyer and they come out and they're like, hang on, to become a partner in a lawyer firm, I need to like sell my soul and work insane hours just to get onto the first rung of the ladder. And then it's many years of bringing in millions of dollars of client money to a partnership that I have to buy to get into. It's like, hang on, did I understand that when I started? So your mistakes and your assumptions can really sort of compound that bad decision as you get older, and then you get into this trap of like, I can't escape, I can't do these things. So really, my message here is start with the end in mind, and this comes down to looking at the facts and figures of that growth of that market. What does it look like when you get out the other end right now? Things are always changing, and the biggest skills really you learn in your undergraduate in academia is how to teach yourself things. So that can't go understated as either. But when you're training for a specific job, you need to be like, okay, let's leave emotion out of this. Let's look at the facts and figures. What is the pay when I get out? Where am I going to find a job? What's the success rate of finding a job, any job in that field? Who do I need to network with? Like, that's when you need to really start thinking about those things. And not a lot of people do that. And I think if you start thinking early on in academia, it will certainly not be a waste of time, because you can start building those bridges, start building those relationships, so that when you get out the other end, you're at least aware of what you're kind of getting yourself into, and you don't sort of double down on mistakes and go further into education hoping it will make your life easier or it will open up more doors in that field, because sometimes it's just not the case. And universities will encourage you to educate yourself more because that is their business model. But yes, start with the end in mind. This isn't to put you off. This is to make sure that you leave those romantic ideas of the career you think you're getting behind, and you look at the real facts and figures. And after knowing those, if you still think, yes, I really want to do this is good, I'm willing to put up with those sacrifices to get that job, then it can absolutely be worth it. So yes, look at those facts and figures, leave the romanticism out of it. Now the thing is, it is very subjective for absolutely everyone. It's very, very hard to say whether or not something is a waste of time for you versus someone else. You may be in a different position, you will be in a different position to someone else and everyone else in your class at university. So you do have to think about, well, what are my resources? How am I going into this? If you're getting yourself into a lot of debt to get your degree, then am I willing to work a certain amount of time to pay off that debt? And what's the pay rate of the job when I get out? How easy is it? Like, all of those things are really about your risk to reward tolerance. It's not for anyone else to determine that other than you. But when you're young and when you're sort of like 18 and choosing your undergraduate degree, it can be very, very difficult to really work out what your risk reward is. And I think by knowing the facts and figures, you can at least make an informed decision based on your risk tolerances at the time and what you think it's going to be like in the future, because things ultimately change. Now, here's a little caveat to everything I've just said, is that following your passion can be very sort of energy giving. Like, it can be like, wow, I wake up every morning, I get to do my passion. That's incredible. And learning new things, learning about how to, I don't know, a little bit of marketing, a little bit of sales, a little bit about writing, technical writing, all of these are kind of wrapped up in this degree, but you can actually go and find those skills separately on other places. And so sometimes to get into a job, you don't need another degree. You just need to build up the experience somewhere else. And there are plenty of online courses. And the thing that makes someone very, very valuable in the workplace isn't necessarily the degree or solely the degree that they've got. It's the other skills they bring around it into their kind of Venn diagram of themselves. So take me, for example. Like, I did a PhD in chemistry, which is great, but now then I left PhD in chemistry because I was like, this is horrible. And then I was like, okay, I want to become a science communicator. So I learned how to write. I got an internship writing. So now I've got writing skills. And then that opened up to working for Australia Science Channel and creating videos, which is why I've got all of this equipment. So now I'm on YouTube talking about my PhD with the skills that I've learned along the way. And that can be applied to sort of any sort of job. In your situation, you know, your marketing degree or your doctor degree or something can be very valuable. But what other skills around that can you include? And it's where those overlap, where you are sort of like uniquely positioned at the interfaces of these skills that makes you valuable. So if you like coding, you know, you don't have to get a coding degree. You can do an online course. You can teach yourself. If you like video production, just start a YouTube channel, work it out as you go along. Like, follow your passions, but your passions don't necessarily have to be in academia. You know, I've learned far more outside of academia by following, you know, I did a little bit of coding, I've done a little bit of sales, I've done a little bit of video editing, I've done a little bit of motion graphic design, you know, all of the intros and outros of all the YouTube channels I've got. Those are all sort of skills I've learned on my own. From Udemy courses, from free on YouTube, which is just insane. Like, the amount of people out there that are willing to give this information is amazing. And yeah, that I think is ultimately what this comes down to is, are you willing subjectively to tolerate the risks, you know, either in payment or time of collecting a degree in academia? And then how can you add passions to that to kind of work out your unique little Venn diagram of skills, and I've sort of like benefited a lot from that. So in short, academia isn't necessarily a waste of time if you're still pursuing passions that can help your degree to make you stand out, to, you know, all of that sort of stuff. So it can be very subjective. Follow through, make sure that your risk and reward are balanced for your particular use case, and you don't have to get a degree in your passion if you don't want to. You can develop that outside, and yeah, that's it. So academia can be a waste of time. It sometimes isn't a complete waste of time because people have really thought about it, and I want you to be one of those people. So there we have it. I hope that academia will not be a waste of time for you based on the information in this video. It's very important to think about what you want, look at the facts and the figures, and ignore this kind of this romantic idea of what getting a degree will give you. You know, look at the growth of the job market, look at what the actual jobs are like at the other end, and if the job needs you to get that qualification, then absolutely it's going to be worth it, and you're willing to sacrifice, you know, time, money to get there. Brilliant. But sometimes you can get there by not having a degree. If the job that you want doesn't actually require that you have a degree, then you can work out other paths to it. Self-learn, get the industry experience, work your way up in a company. Like, all of that's absolutely fine and valid. Some people like that degrees in academia package up a nice little pathway through the learning process, but there's no reason why you can't develop the same skills you would get in a degree outside of that degree in a like technical school or vocational college or something like that, which would be less money and less time, and you'll be getting into the nitty-gritty of that job straight away. So academia, it can be a waste of time, but try not to make it a waste of time by following the advice in this video. Good luck to you. All right, until next time, I shall see you in the next video. If you've liked this video, go check out the 5 things they don't tell you about careers. I think that would be a good add-on to this video. Go check it out. See you soon.